When Five Nights at Freddy's first hit the stage in 2014, horror fans were swarming over this new indie horror game title. And I gotta say, for a guy who's been loyal to Five Nights at Freddy's in all of its ups and downs, twists and turns for 9 years, I got a lot to say about the franchise. So, who better else to tell you about Golden Freddy and his lore throughout the series than your boy, the Prince of FNAF. So let's start off with Golden Freddy's story in 2014's Five Nights at Freddy's. In the original game, you probably won't even encounter Golden Freddy in your first or even second playthrough of the game. Golden Freddy is a rare occurrence and usually happens at random. When Golden Freddy does appear, he'll manipulate one of the posters outside the office to show Golden Freddy's face. And he will then appear slumped over in the far corner of your office and proceed to jump scare you, which will cause your real-world game to crash. If you're lucky enough or unlucky enough, depending on how you look at it, to encounter Golden Freddy, there is no stopping him once he's made his way to your office. He will just kind of sit there and look at you while you await your inevitable fate of being killed by this guy. And when he does so, the game will just crash. Golden Freddy can also be heard to kill the night guard seemingly during one of the phone calls that kind of guides you through your tasks throughout the game, and it's 5 nights, 6 nights if you play the bonus one. During this attack on the night guard, you can actually hear other noises that aren't Golden Freddy. You can hear the ghostly moaning of Bonnie, the screeching of Chica, and then finally ended by the distorted yelling of Golden Freddy, finally sealing the phone guy's fate. I know the original novel trilogy is in its own continuity, however, I do like to look to those books to kind of connect the dots on some things, because there's a lot that can be considered canon if you know where to look when it comes to those original books. And I like to believe that this is sort of a reference to Golden Freddy in the books, as Golden Freddy also appears to be the leader of the animatronics and not Freddy Fazbear himself. It also seems that both iterations of Golden Freddy can compel the animatronics to do their bidding, at least to some degree. Now, fans will not have to wait too long to find out what happens next, because only a few months after the release of the original Five Nights at Freddy's, we got Five Nights at Freddy's 2 in the same year, and with the release of that game came a new version of Golden Freddy. Enter Withered Golden Freddy. Withered Golden Freddy has a lot of reused assets from his predecessor, however, it seems to be running off of the Withered Freddy model, just with all of that extra Golden Freddy flair to him. He also appears to be able to appear as a disembodied head in the hallway, but ultimately his mechanic is the same, and he jump scares the player, causing the game to crash. He even operates much the same way his original iteration operated, where if you don't play games more than once, you probably won't ever see this guy. 2015 is the next stop, and Golden Freddy doesn't do anything in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. He appears very briefly and is not a harmful animatronic. Phantom Golden Freddy appears in the far left corner of the office, seemingly at random. There's no way to trigger his appearance or to get him to go away. He just appears and disappears seemingly at random, and he doesn't do anything. He just kind of sits there and watches you. Nightmare Fredbear is the next character we'll be talking about, making his appearance in Five Nights at Freddy's 4, the final chapter, which came out the same year, and Nightmare Fredbear appears like a bear animatronic, gold and brown, and has a bunch of rips and tears in his body, sports razor-sharp claws and sharp teeth, has glowing red eyes, and a purple top hat, along with a purple bow, and some black buttons. Nightmare Fredbear is not actually Fredbear, but a monstrous representation of Fredbear from the eyes of the crying child, who is afraid of everything, especially the animatronics at Fredbear's Family Diner. Scary enough, if you look closely, you can see blood stains on Nightmare Fredbear's teeth, which are a reference to what inevitably happens to Crying Child during the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 4, the final chapter, where the Crying Child gets his head stuck inside Fredbear's mouth, and, well, Fredbear bites down, killing the young child instantly. And this is where we can begin to put the pieces together. Golden Freddy was originally called Fredbear, and there was a horrible accident with a child who got killed in a spring lock failure, and the incident was so bad that Fazbear Entertainment decided to completely remove Fredbear from Fredbear's Family Diner and repurpose him, turn him into a new character. They redesigned him, turned his top hat black, turned his bow tie black, and basically made him a golden version of Freddy, and intended to use him at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. However, the tragedy was such a loss for Fazbear Entertainment, they couldn't fully recover from it, so he was just left in the back rooms. Basically, what would end up happening is Fredbear got turned into Golden Freddy, and because Fazbear Entertainment was too scared to reintegrate Fredbear back into their establishment, into their company, he just ended up sitting in the back room for years and years, which is why we see him in such a rough state in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and even worse in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, because Fazbear Entertainment has been so screwed up by what happened at Fredbear's Family Diner that they're too scared to use this animatronic in another establishment, which is why he just sits and rots over the course of those first 3 games. Sadly enough, it seems like Golden Freddy is still possessed by the Crying Child. However, contrary to what we visually see on screen, it's heavily implied that he is possessed by 2 individuals, a unnamed benevolent spirit and a named vengeful spirit, being Cassidy. Cassidy uses Golden Freddy for her own gain, usually to enact some kind of gruesome scenario, like what she did with the phone guy in the original Five Nights at Freddy's. As for the other spirit, now this is just a theory, it could still be the Crying Child, and the reason why the Crying Child hasn't stopped Cassidy from committing these violent acts is probably because the Crying Child has been characterized to be quite afraid of anything. So if Crying Child is still within Golden Freddy, he's probably too scared to resist Cassidy's will inside of Golden Freddy. Essentially, he's kind of just along for the ride. But this pretty much breaks down Golden Freddy's character, his story, and how he's evolved throughout the course of Five Nights at Freddy's. But let me know what you guys think about Golden Freddy and Cassidy as a whole. And with that, do take care, have a great night, and I'll see you in the next video.